Welcome back. As Americans across the country commemorate Memorial Day, last week, some 24 members of the Four Country Caucus, a bipartisan group of military veterans serving in Congress, participated in an annual event to clean the more than 58,000 names etched into the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in an act of remembrance for those who gave their lives. That group included the last 3 Vietnam veterans in Congress, Congressman Jack Bergman, Jim Baird, and Mike Thompson. I had the opportunity to sit down with 3 members who participated in that event. I began by asking them what was going through their minds while washing the wall.
For the longest time, it was a very hard thing. Before coming to Congress, I had a hard time going to the wall, just because of the personal connection. Thankfully, thanks to Mike Wall's leadership and Four Country Caucus, they've created an annual event that more people are getting involved with, and it's emotional, but I believe it's productive, and especially the way the media has taken it and shown the American people what we're really doing. This is not a political event.
So is it easier to go to the wall now?
It is. In some cases, it'll never be totally easy, but you know, we come to grips with the realities of life, and the only way we do that is by getting into what makes us uncomfortable.
And Congressman Baird, you're also a Vietnam veteran, so what was it like for you to be there today?
It's a emotional experience. It took me 30-some years to go because I was afraid of how many names I might see on the wall that I knew. But in the end, it was a healing experience, and it was a very emotional experience. And I take every opportunity that I've had in recent years to make sure that the Vietnam veterans understand that they did a great job, they were good soldiers, and I enjoyed serving with every one of them that I served with, and I would go back and do it again. What I'm trying to say is I think the country should be proud of the kind of young people that we put into the military and the job that they do. And you're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old individuals, and they end up in a combat zone, and it's unbelievable the courage and the strength and the backbone they have to really defend and protect their fellow soldiers.
And Congresswoman, you weren't a Vietnam veteran, but you are a veteran. You served 11 years in the U.S. Navy Reserves. What did it mean for you to participate in the event today?
Well, it was deeply humbling, and it was a true honor to be alongside Jack and Jim at the wall. There is no greater love than the love that leads a person to put their life on the line, to give their life to our country. And the memorial it's an extraordinary thing because Americans from every corner of our country came together to pay tribute to this heroism, and that's what it is. It was a humbling experience and one that I hope every American can share in.
And there's only 3 Vietnam veterans left serving in Congress, Congressman Bergman and Congressman Baird being 2 of them. What is it like for you guys? Do you have a small community? Did it used to be bigger?
Well, they're not making any more of us. So, you know, when I got here, 10 years ago, there were a few more Vietnam veterans, but they've all retired. There's none in the Senate. It's up to us, I believe, as the remaining few, to make sure we understand what the next generation of veterans has gone through, the Mike Walls of the world and the OIF, OEF veterans, and how we make sure that it's not just about World War II, it's not just about the Korean War, it's not just about Vietnam, it's about the sacrifices and the price paid. And we do, I think, a pretty good job with the veterans in Congress. Whatever, Democrat, Republican, doesn't make a bit of a difference. It's understanding what we've been given by the sacrifices of others.
And just generally, how important is it to have veteran representation in Congress?
You know, I love working with these 2, and I came early in my career. I had a chance to work for Senator John McCain, and what you see in the trajectory of Congress, it used to be that the majority of members had spent time serving in uniform. And today, we have a lot of work to do to recruit and retain people who have served in the military. And I think the reason I love working with veterans in Congress, it's it's a mission-focused group. It's a group that, in a very noisy place, with a lot of noise, it's a group of people who tune that out, who stay focused on the mission, and who know how to work with anyone. And that's one of the gifts that the Navy gave me. It was one of the things I love most about serving, that you don't think about the ideology of the person to your left or your right. You get to work and you stay focused on the mission until it's done.
Yeah, veterans operate a different way than maybe civilian folks, right?
Oh, we're a little bit more mission focused, and we'll call baloney if we see baloney very quickly. We don't suffer wasting time.
And I'm sure you see a lot of that up here on Capitol Hill.
They're masters.
But that's one reason I joined for Country Caucus, because there's a bond between veterans that you just can't explain, but it's there. I have friends all over the United States that I could call that would be here if they thought I really needed them. And so that bond, and that's what the For Country Caucus does, is try to capitalize on that and plant the seeds that we do need to work together. You know, this place operates the best when you can compromise and get together, and it may not, you may not get everything you wanted, but the product is a result of everyone participating. So I think that's an important part of this mission.
And it seems that bond transcends political lines. It's not partisan. You're a Democrat, two of you are Republicans. Talk to me about reaching across the aisle and how maybe it's perhaps easier amongst veterans to do that.
It's kind of like a family, you know. You can see brothers and sisters fight, but I'd encourage you not to get in that fight, because they are brothers and sisters, you know. So I feel that a little bit that way about veterans. We stand for each other.
Yeah, we hold each other accountable. Mm-hmm. And that's important, because we were trained. You have to, there's a phrase in the Marine Corps, the Marine doesn't fight for themselves, they fight for that Marine on their left and their right. And that's what we do. We bond together and hold each other accountable and be a step above what we have seen here, unfortunately, too much of in D.C. We're better than that.
I do want to dig into some of the legislation. I know you guys have worked together on some bills before, but Congressman Bergman, you've been a champion of mental health support for service members, for veterans. You've talked about how difficult it can be transitioning from active duty to civilian life. What is some of the progress we have made, and what more needs to be done to try to meet some of those needs? Well,
as odd as it may seem, because I've never taken an illegal drug in my life, I'm the Republican lead for advancing psychedelic therapies. And I thought long and hard for a couple of years before getting involved, but for me there was one driver: suicide. My co-lead on the Democrat side, Lou Correa, and I came in as freshmen together, and we are as tight can be on this. And over the last 3+ years, we've had great advancements. The most recent one being the executive order that was written advancing the opportunity for psychedelic therapies. You know, 20+ suicides a day in the veteran community. Waiting is not an option. I mean, I'm sure Jim would speak to this, but we saw too many of our fellow combat veterans in Vietnam come back and never assimilate back into society. And it was largely mental health issues. And one of the things, to the credit to the United States, they realized that not welcoming us home in the 60s and 70s, they created a mental health problem that didn't need to be there. So when Desert Storm came in the 90s, and then OEF later, the country has awakened to the fact that they welcome home their veterans. That's a good thing. That's a good sign of healthy growth.
Talk to me about those invisible wounds, and do you think the government is doing enough to service veterans, especially when it comes to mental health?
I don't know what you would call enough. I'm not sure that you ever feel enough, but I do go to this, and continuing on with what the general said, I've been involved in agriculture all my life, and so there's a piece I get out of being a part of that. But we've created in the Farm Bill, and we just passed that out of the House, for example, but in that Farm Bill, we created an environment that allowed young veterans or returning veterans to get involved in agriculture. And I think the peace you obtain from working with the land and growing products or growing livestock, there's a piece there that helps mental health. And so continuing on what he said, I think all of that's important.
And Congresswoman, what are some areas that you see as ripe for bipartisanship when it comes to potential legislation as it relates to veterans?
Well, I'd say two things. One, you know, we have a lot of work to do to fulfill what I think is a sacred obligation to our veterans, to our service members, and our military families. And when I think about health care, we're the richest country in the history of the world. No American should go without the health care they need, when they need it, and where they need it. And on mental health, you know, mental health care is health care, period. And that is a bipartisan principle that Congress laid down more than 2 decades ago.
How can we get the rest of Congress to embody that sort of bipartisan spirit?
You think we should draft them? That's a little inside humor here that we need to put them through some kind of a boot camp, see if they'll survive.
I'm sure the Speaker would love that for some of his members. I want to wrap up here by just asking each of you, what is your message to Americans this Memorial Day? I'll start with you.
Always remember, appropriately, those who gave it all. They gave their today so you could have your tomorrow. And never make light of it, honor it, and then, after you've done that, then celebrate their service in appropriate ways and never make it, you know, partisan.
Congresswoman?
We are who we remember, and Memorial Day is a time to remember the men and women for 250 years who have given their lives to each and every one of us. It's an extraordinary inheritance, and the way that we honor that is by remembering and by living up to the sacrifice and the devotion that each and every one of them gave to us. And America needs every citizen right now to step up and to be a part of this. You know, 250 years is a long time for any republic to have existed. And the way that we keep this experiment, this fragile, extraordinary experiment, unlike any other the world has ever known, is by ordinary people who believe in our Constitution, who believe in one another, stepping up and being a part of this.
And Congressman Baird, I'll give you the last word here.
So I think the fact that we carry on in memory of what they sacrificed and gave their whole life for, that we have a responsibility as Americans to continue that on and to protect what they fought for, and I certainly intend to do that.
I want to thank Congressman Bergman, Baird, and Goodlander for their time and for their service.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.